All right, so this video will be to complete ACC part number 4, parts 1, 2, and 3. And so we'll go ahead and get right started right away in our Schoology page. Again, I'm referencing our 2A computer design class. Looking at the home page at the beginning SOLIDWORKS folder at the very bottom, I'm going to left click on that folder and we're going to look for our ACC4 parts. Now we have two PDF files here. We have one that is the part file and we have the other which is the drawing file. I'd like you to first start with the acc4.pdf file and left click. Now, as we've done with the other ones, this is a 3D PDF file and it will not work within the Schoology environment. So what we have to do here is come up to the right-hand corner where it says download and left click. Go ahead and accept. You're going to open it with Adobe Acrobat Reader and say OK. Now, once it opens, you're going to see the yellow bar at the top that says 3D content has been disabled. To open that up, we're going to drop the options down, trust this document one time only. And now what this allows us to do is begin clicking on the views below and seeing the part we're going to design today. So here's the first part. Okay, that's the isometric view. Here's the front view. We see we have our A, B, C, and our A and C and D on here. Our top view, and then a right side view with letter B at the top, and B minus 50 divided by 2. Now, I'm going to go back to the beginning here, look at this part, and the first thing I want to determine is what is the best face or plane to start this from. Now, if you look at this carefully, it would make most sense to start from the front view. And the best way to do this would be to look at the front view and just create a simple L shape. And then define that L shape with an A, the C, and the D, and then extrude it across a distance B. So looking back here, the first thing I want to do before I get going into SOLIDWORKS is determine the units I'll be drawing in first. And if you look here to the right, you will see where it says unit system is mmgs, millimeters, grams, second. That should automatically tell you this is a metric part. In this case, our decimal places will be 2. We're going to use the material. It's 1350 aluminum alloy. And then we got to read this note right here where it says all holes and slots are through all unless otherwise shown. So that means this slot is going all the way through. So now I'm going to kick over into SOLIDWORKS. I'm going to do a file new. And again, we decided that the units were a metric. So I'm going to click the metric part file here and say OK. Now looking to the left into my design tree, we decided the best way to start this would be on the front plane. So I'm going to left click my front plane, go up to my sketch toolbar, and click the word sketch. Now again, I'm just going to draw a simple L shape using my line tool. The big issue we have is we must connect it to the origin or have some kind of relationship to the origin. So I'm going to left click and pull a horizontal line to my right, pull up, pull in, but not all the way back, just a little bit short, left click and pull up, pull back to my left here. As soon as I see that line click on there, I'm going to left click and pull back down, left click at the beginning. I'm going to hit my F key and escape to turn off my line tool. Now in this case, I need to add in some dimensions. So let's go back to our PDF file, to our front view, and see the dimensions I need to add. So I need to dimension this bottom line as A and this left line as C. So for part number 1, A will be 94 and C will be 84. So I'm going to go ahead and get those two parts dimensioned first. So I'm going to do 94 at the bottom and 84 at the left. Now going back to it, and I'm looking at my PDF file, I see that the thickness here is D and the width here is D. And D for this part, first part, is going to be 18. So going back to SOLIDWORKS, with my dimension tool still active, I'm going to click on this right-hand line, put in 18 and hit enter. Click on this top line, 18 and hit enter. Now at this point, I can go ahead and do the extrusion. So I'm going to go to my features toolbar and hit the extrude boss base. And what it's going to do is rotate to an isometric view. It's going to add a temporary thickness to it. The default is set at 10 millimeters. But now I need to go back to my PDF file and actually determine the actual distance I need to extrude this across. So if I'm on this side of the part here, I need to extrude all the way across to this side. That distance is going to be letter B. So for this part, it'll be 70 for my extrusion. So I'm going to go back to SOLIDWORKS. Where it says 10, I'm going to highlight and change it to 70 and hit enter. I see the silhouette I'm looking for. Looks good. I'm going to hit my check mark. F key to center. Now the blue tells me there's no material on this. So going back to my design tree, I see where it says material not specified. I'm going to right click, edit material, and if you recall, the material is going to be a 1350 aluminum alloy. So I'm going to minimize steel, max out the aluminum alloys, drop down menu, and go to 1350 alloy. Apply, close. Now, going back to my PDF file, my isometric view, what I've got basically is a large L shape that's been extruded across. My next step is going to be to come to this back face right here, and I want to create this U shape and extrude cut through all to clear that out. So looking at this right side view, I see where the dimensions are that I'm going to have to apply. So first thing I want to do is go to SOLIDWORKS and highlight this face right here. Go ahead and start a sketch. Do a space bar and a normal 2. Now, turning on the line tool, I'm going to start at the top and pull straight down. Now, I'm going to show you a trick here that you haven't seen before. I'm going to take my line tool and slightly pull away. I'm not going to click anywhere. I'm just going to pull away and then come back and touch the end of a line again. And when you do that, your line tool will automatically create an arc. Now, if you click and the arc is going the wrong way, do that one more time. Actually, it's going to do it either way. It's fine. Oh, like something like this, okay, where the mistake is it's getting too big. Just come back and touch again, and it will end up shallowing itself out. So I'm going to pull over here like I'm pulling the letter U. I'm going to left click and pull straight up. I'm going to left click and close the top of the U. I'm going to hit escape to deactivate my tool. Now, one of the most common errors students have is they don't have this line at top. And then when they go to extrude cut, they don't understand why it's not working. In order for a cut to work, this must be closed. And you know it's closed when it turns blue inside. Again, hit escape to turn my tool off. And now what I want to do is add in some dimensions. So going back to my PDF file here, I'm going to add from this top line here to the center of my arc a 30 millimeter distance. And I'm going to take the top line here and add a 50 millimeter distance. So turning on my smart dimension, I'll take this line here and make it 50. From the top line here to the center of that arc, pull to my left and make that distance 30. Okay, now, obviously it's not in the right spot, so let's go back to the PDF file. So what I'm going to do is from this left-hand side to this inside part of the U, I'm going to do a B minus 50 divided by 2. Now, I don't want to think about what that is, so I'm just going to type it in the way I see it right here. So I go back to SOLIDWORKS and dimension from here, from this right side, up, and I'm going to type it in exactly like I saw it. Shift, parens, okay, B in this case, we got to look at this part. Okay, in this case, B is 70, so I'm going to put 70 minus 50, close parens, divided by 2. Okay, so we're going to type it in exactly the same way we see it here. B minus 50, so 70 minus 50, including the parens, divided by 2. Now, when I get that put in there, all I have to do now at this point is hit enter, and it will give me the number I need. In this case, it is 10 millimeters. Now, you should notice as soon as that happened, this suddenly became fully defined. Now, if yours is not, one of the most common errors is that you don't have your lines tangent to the curve. So what I'm talking about here is there's a little tangent symbol. Okay? So maybe your curve looks like this. It's not smooth between the curve and the line. Whenever you have a curve meeting a line, it should be tangent. So to add that tangency, I'm going to hold my control key, click on the arc, click on the vertical line, and add tangent. And now you see this thing is nice and smooth. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Control key, arc, add tangent. Now, if you drew it like I did, most likely the tangent's automatically added. Now, at this point, I've got a fully defined figure. I know that two ways. One, the lines are all black. That says fully defined. The second way is down here in the lower right-hand corner. It says fully defined. Once I see that, I know SOLIDWORKS is ready to do a feature. So I'm going to space bar, isometric view, go to my features toolbar, and in this case, I want to cut material away. So I'm going to do an extruded cut, and instead of blind, I'm going to do a through all. As soon as I see it cutting all the way through, I'm going to hit my check mark. So now, going back to my PDF file, going back to the view here, I now have the L shape and this U cut out. Now what I'm going to do is go to this top surface here on top, and I'm going to go ahead and draw this slot on there and cut through. So I'm going to go to my top view to look, and then I'm going to go to my SOLIDWORKS and click on this top face right here. I'm going to start a sketch, do a space bar, and a normal 2. Now again, we're drawing a slot. And so we're going to go up here underneath our corner rectangle tool. There's a straight slot tool. I'm going to left click on the slot tool, left click out here in space, pull to my right, left click, and then the third click is either pull up or down, doesn't matter which way you go, left click number 3. Now I'm going to turn off my tool by hitting escape. I'm going to go ahead and start with my smart dimension. If I go back to SOLIDWORKS, I see that, first of all, from the center of one arc to the center of the other arc is 60. And then from the center of this right-hand arc to the edge is 10. So I'm going to add those two in right away. So from the center of one arc to the center of the other arc, this number is 60. And then from this center to this edge is going to be 10. Going back to here, I see that the radius of this arc is 6, and then from this center to the top line is going to be 14. So I'm going to go back here and add a radius of 6, and then from this center to this top line, pulling to my right, I'm going to make that distance 14. Now, I know most people are looking at this going, but Mr. Combs, this is butting right up to this. Remember, this is part 1, okay? In this view right here, this is actually the view for part 3. That was what the file was created on. So don't freak out by this. Just trust your numbers and go with what you're supposed to go with. Okay, so going back to here, I'm going to hit my space bar and my isometric view. Now I want to cut through this. So I'm going to go to my feature toolbar, go to extruded cut, and drop this to through all, because all holes and slots are through all. Hit my check mark, and now at this point, I've got my slot in this part. Going back to my PDF file now, basically at this point, I've got my L shape, I've got the U cut, and I've got the slot cut. The next thing I need to do is create these two cuts here. Now I'm going to do these with basically 2 circles, looking at the top view. I'm going to draw a circle here and another circle here, add the dimensions that will define those circles, and then do some trimming to get to the little points I need. You could also actually do this with arcs, and maybe that's the best way to do this. I think I'm going to, instead of doing circles, I'm going to go ahead and draw this with 2 3-point arcs. Okay? So what I'm going to do is go back to SOLIDWORKS, highlight this top face, start a new sketch, and do a space bar and a normal 2. Now I'm going to go up here to my arc tool, and I'm going to look for a 3-point arc. Now if you recall, we talked about this in the beginning of doing SOLIDWORKS. If it says 3-point, it means 3 clicks of the mouse. So I'm going to start down here on this edge here. I don't want to get locked in this midpoint because that's not where this belongs. I'm going to be a little bit in front of it. I'm going to left click, number 1, come this way so it's kind of towards the middle, left click number 2. Then I'm going to kind of pull a shallow arc right here, something right about like this, left click number 3. Now with my tool still active, I'm going to do the same thing again, but this time I'm going to connect to the endpoint of this arc, go over to this side over here, and again pull a shallow arc, left click. Now turn on your line tool, and from this edge of the arc to this corner, from that corner to this part of the arc here, go ahead and close this shape so that it turns light blue on the inside. Hit escape to turn off your tool, and now what we got to do is add in some key dimensions here. So going back into my PDF file, the first thing I want to do is get a distance of 36 from this back edge here to this corner of the arc, and a 50 from the back edge here to this corner of the arc. So going back to SOLIDWORKS and turning on my Smart Dimension, from this corner to the back line should be 36. From this corner to this back edge should be 50. Going back to my PDF file, I see the distance from this point to this center point here is going to be 20. And the distance from this edge to inside here is going to be 24. So I'm going to go into my SOLIDWORKS, and from this point here to this point here, I'm going to pull to my right. Left click and type 20. And then from this point here to this edge here is going to be 24. Okay, now I'm not going to panic right now. I know this looks like it's changing on you. What I'll do is I'm going to start grabbing, and this may take some work. Hold on here. Ooh. All right, we're going to actually add some dimensions here. So you can see it's getting a little big. And if that's the case, what I may have to do here to make this work, I'm just trying to pull this in such a way that I can get this to be at least close, is I'm going to go ahead and dimension these. Okay, now in this case, what I'm going to do, I need to look at this a little bit more closely here on this part. Yeah, I think the center is 24 from the edge. It is, and then this is going to be 24 TYP. So both of these are going to mark as 24. So I'm going to go in here, and now I'm going to take my Smart Dimension tool. I'm going to make this 24. I'm going to make this 24. And that's way too big. So I'm actually going to take and delete this off of here. Take this one, this one off. Yes to this, and then draw again another 3-point arc. And sometimes you have to play around with this just to get it to work right. Now in this case, what I'm going to do is attach that to that point up there and add in the 24 right here. And at this point, this is now fully defined. Just trying to make sure this is correct. Yes, this is correct. Okay. So now at this point, I can go ahead, hit my space bar and do an isometric. And now what I'm going to do is go up to my features and do an extruded cut through all. Now at this point, this part is complete. So I'm going to quickly go up and do a file save as, go into my H drive, under my CAD folder, into my 3D parts folder, and name this the following. ACC4 underscore part 1 underscore my last name. Enter. Now at this point, I want you to go to evaluate, mass properties, and look what you got for mass properties. I'm seeing 339.74 grams. So at this point, I'm going to hit print. Now again, I want you to, before you print, to verify it's on letter size paper. To do that, I'm going to go up to the word properties, verify that the printing shortcut says letter right here. The paper quality says letter right here. Once you have that, you can hit OK, verify your printing to L108, and hit OK. Now at this point, go run to the printer, grab your mass properties, and bring it back to your desk. As soon as you have it back at your desk, I want you to go ahead and close out your mass properties by hitting the red X in the corner. Now, as we've done the last several drawings or parts here, we need to make some changes here. So we need to get into part 2. So if I look at this, I see that part 2, A has changed from 94 to 106, B has changed to 82 from 70, C is at 102 from 84, and D is going to be 25. So now what I'm going to have to do is go through and again, go down my design tree one branch at a time. I'm going to left click on this first branch. Now, the first thing I see is here is my 94. Okay, here is my 84. So A is 94, B was 84. So my new numbers are going to be 106 and 82. So I'm going to take this number right here where it says 94 and double click. 106, enter. This is going to become 92. Double click to 84, highlight 92, enter. Okay, and C was this depth here, and that C is going to be, in this case, C is going to be 102. So 70, double click, it's going to become 102, enter. Continue, ignore, don't worry. And then the height of this is going to be now D, and D for this problem, this next problem is 25. So I'm going to double click the 18, make that 25. Double click this 18 and make it 25. Continue, ignore. Okay, now to make sure everything took effect, I'm going to go up to my stoplight up here for rebuild and left click. And I'm going to close this note. Now this is going to happen frequently when you make changes. SOLIDWORKS will start getting confused and it will basically pitch a fit. Okay, but now what I'm going to do is go to the next tree. Okay, and if you recall, the next tree, this, if you look back at this view, that 50 stays the same, but in this case, oops, I just did this wrong. I realized I go back to step 1. Oops, my bad. This, sorry, the height is, in this case, the height here is C, and I got that wrong, so I got to go back and fix it. So the height here should be 102, not 92. Continue, ignore. Okay. The bottom A should be 106, which I've got right here. The depth here should be C, or excuse me, B, which in this case is going to be 82. So I got my numbers mixed up. But again, all I did was go to my design tree, and where this 102 is down here, that actually should be 82. Okay, 25 for D and 25 for D again. Now hit your rebuild, and now the error goes away. That was on me. I misread the numbers. Common mistake. But we still have some more things to fix. If I go to cut extrude 1, this 50 and 30 stay the same, but this now becomes B. Okay, and if you recall, we're going to do the same formula. B is 82, so we are going to do shift parens, oops, get this right here, shift parentheses, 82 minus 50, close parentheses, divided by 2. If I hit enter, continue, ignore, that number now became 16. Okay, so everything's good to this point. I'm going to go to the next cut extrude. Okay, this doesn't change. This stays 60, 10, 6, and 14. And then same with this. This all stays the same itself. 36 right here, 20 to the center, 24 into here, 50 from the back, with both of these arcs being a radius of 24. So at this point, this part is complete. If I hit rebuild, it's good to go. So now what I want to do is I want to do a quick save. So File, Save As, ACC4, Part 2, underscore your last name. Okay, so looking at that, I got my A, B, C, and D all done. We are good to now get the mass properties for this. So go to your Evaluate, Mass Properties. I see it went up in weight, which it should have because it's a bigger part. It's thicker. So I got a 671.34. I'm going to go ahead and print that. But again, when I go to print, please double check that the properties are correct by going to Properties, Printing Shortcuts, make sure this top line says Letter, Paper Quality, first line says Letter. Hit OK. Make sure you're printing to the correct lab, L108, and hit OK. Go ahead to the printer now, grab your second mass properties, and bring it back to your desk. As soon as you have it, go ahead and hit the red X and close out of your mass properties. Now, the last thing we got to do is do a part 3. So again, looking at our PDF file, I see that part 3, the letter A changes to 102, B is going to go to 78, C is going to go to 92, and our thickness D will go to 22. So, going back into my design tree, branch number 1. Okay, if I'm looking at these correctly, A goes from 106 to 102. So double click the 106 to 102. Enter. Okay, the 102 back here is going to change from 102, that is C, it's going to change to 92. So I double click here and go 92. The distance B, or in this case, the extrusion B, is going to go from 82 to 78. So I'm going to cover this 82, double click, and go 78 and hit enter. And then the 25s are my D. If you look at these, D now goes from 25 to 22. So I'm going to hit the 22 or 25, double click, 22, enter. Go this 25, double click, 22, and enter. Now nothing on mine has changed. So when you're done entering these numbers, go up to your stoplight at the very top of the bar and left click. Now, going to cut extrude 2. Okay, now remember the 50 and the 30 stay the same. But this one now becomes, instead of 16, we're again going to do shift parentheses. B now is going to be 78. So we take 78 minus 50, close parentheses. Oh, no, parentheses. Dang it. Parentheses. I got to actually be clicked inside there. 78 minus 50, close parentheses, divided by 2. Hit enter, continue ignore, and it should have gone to 14. This does not change. These cuts do not exchange or do not change. Hit my F key, hit rebuild one more time just in case, and now I am done with part number 3. So I'm now going to go in here and do a file save as ACC4 part 3 underscore your last name and hit save. Evaluate mass properties. I get 517.18 grams. Go ahead and hit print properties. Verify that the paper quality is letter. Printing shortcuts, the first line for paper sizes is letter. Hit OK, and make sure you're printing to L108. Hit OK. At this point, go ahead and go grab your third mass property sheet, bring it back to your desk, and as soon as you're there, go ahead and close out your mass properties. Now at this point, we need to take this part here, part number 3, and create a drawing. So I'm going to go back into my PDF file. I'm going to go ahead and close this PDF file. And at this point, go back into my Schoology, back into my beginning SOLIDWORKS folder here. And now I want to open up ACC4 Part 3.pdf. I'm going to left click. And I'm going to go ahead and download this so I can see this as a full screen drawing. Open with Adobe Acrobat. Bring this part on over. Go full screen. I'm going to go ahead and kick out this side, hit this arrow here. So now this sits full screen. So looking at this drawing, this is going to be a B border. specifically a B metric border. We're going to bring in all 4 views, a front, a top, a right side, and an isometric view. The front, top, and right are going to be at a scale of 1 to 1. The isometric view will be reduced to a scale of 1 to 2, color added with a note below. So let's go ahead and get that set up in SOLIDWORKS. So I'm going to go to File, New, open up my GHSB metric part, make sure the border is on there, hit OK. Now I should see my part in the Open Documents box to the left. I'm going to go ahead and hit the blue arrow to Next, and then again, same repetitive pattern on the last several drawings. We're going to do 4 clicks to get this set up. I'm going to start with the front view by left-clicking on this box in the middle. I'm going to turn on my preview by left-clicking in the white box and adding a check mark. Go down to Display Style, and instead of Hidden Lines Removed, I'm going to do Hidden Lines Visible. Left-click. And then I'm going to drop this down to my scale. And right now it's showing a scale of 1 to 2. So I'm going to change that by going Custom Scale and dropping 1 to 1. Now, looking at my part, I'll hit the F key to make this center up. And now what I'm going to do is, starting in this left-hand corner, left-click, pull up, left-click. Pull to your right, left-click, and then up at the right-hand corner, left-click. Once you have your 4 views on there, hit Escape to deactivate the tool. Now looking at these, I'm going to take this one up here and bring it back on. And the first thing I want to do is click anywhere inside this box. You'll notice there's a blue box around it. Just left-click inside and look to your left to the Property Manager. I would like you to change the display style from Hidden Lines Visible to Shaded with Edges. Scale, instead of 1 to 1, drop to Custom and make it 1 to 2. Now the final step here is then to blow up on this and look for any extra lines that should not be there. I'm going to highlight these center lines and hit Delete. I do not want them in my isometric view. Highlight and delete. F key. So now I have my views all ready to go. Now, first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and place the title in here. And I'm going to go ahead and show, again, a shortcut to make this happen. I am going to go over here to my PDF file. And I'm going to take this note right here and copy it and then paste it into my drawing. How do I do that? Well, I'm going to left-click and drag my mouse across all this lettering here. I'm going to do a Control-C for copy. Now going back to SOLIDWORKS and into my part drawing here, I will blow up and go to my annotation toolbar and hit the note tool. I'm going to drop the note right underneath. Now as the cursor is blinking in here, all I'm going to do now is do a Control-V. And now the entire note comes in. However, it's not correct. I need it to be centered. So what I'm going to do is highlight this with a left click and drag. Go to here and hit center. I'm going to go to the very top here, highlight this, and do underline. And then last but not least, I'm going to come back in here, double click, and change this to the actual numbers on page 3 of your mass property sheets. I'm not going to type that in. You need to look that up and type those numbers in there. Do not leave it as XXX.XX. You will lose 3 points. I'm going to go ahead and hit my green check mark, and now I'll just adjust, put it underneath, and if I need to, I can move this whole thing around as I need to. F key. Going back to here, now what I want to do is I want to start looking at this and adding in my dimensions. So I'm going to focus on the front view to get started. So I see a 22 and a 22 here, but I also see some center lines. So I want to verify I have those center lines in this view. And then in this case, I do, but it looks like I have one extra one right here. Now, if you look at the drawing, remember, we're trying to duplicate the drawing here. I don't see that one in my front view. So I'm going to take this one and delete it off. So go back to SOLIDWORKS here. It's highlighted. Hit delete. Turn on your smart dimension. Dimension this top line to 22. Left click and pull. Dimension the right line to 22. So now my front view and my isometric view are both complete. I'm going to work over to the right side view. So let's go over here to my my PDF file. Now right away I'm looking for a couple center lines. I should have 2 center lines, and I need to put a center mark in here. Okay, and if you look back at the SOLIDWORKS drawing here, I am missing. I have my 2 center lines, but I'm missing the center mark. To add a center mark, I need to go to my annotation toolbar, and towards the far right, you're going to see the word center mark. Left click, and then all you have to do to get the center mark in there is left click on your arc, and there is the center mark. Hit your check mark to the left, and now let's start adding in our dimensions. So I need a 92 on the left and a 30 on the left hand side also. So go back to SOLIDWORKS, Smart Dimension. All I'm going to do is go from this horizontal line to this horizontal line to get 30. And then I'm going to click on this entire left line to get my 92. Go back to my PDF. Looks like I need a 14, a 50, and a 78 on the top. Go back to my drawing. Click on this line right here. I get a 14. I'm going to go ahead and hit the arrows to go inside. From this left vertical line to this right vertical line of the U shape, I'm going to get 50. And then from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, I'm going to pull up, and I get 78. So at this point, I have my front view done, my right side view done, and my isometric view complete. So now let's look at this top view up here. Let's go into our PDF file, take a look at the top view, and see what we got going on there. Okay, right away I see some things. I should have a center line here, and looking at my SOLIDWORKS, I have that center line. However, I also need to have a center line and center marks in my slot tool. So going back into my drawing, I'm going to turn on my center mark tool one more time, left click on the arc. Now SOLIDWORKS or default is to set that center mark dead center of the slot. However, I want these center marks at the ends of the slot. So if I look to my left in the management property bar, I can look at slot center marks here to the left, and instead of centered, I would like it to go to slot ends. And right when you do that, it automatically put them to the ends and created a line in between. Hit your check mark. Now, going back to my PDF file, I also notice I have 2 small center marks here and here. Okay, little plus signs. So go back to SOLIDWORKS and turn on your center mark. Now I'm going to click on these 2 arcs, and you'll notice the center marks are really big. All I want are these little center pieces to them. Well, if I look to my left and I see this box where it says Use Document Defaults and left click to uncheck it, it will then allow me to get rid of the extended lines by left checking inside the box. And then just like that, you have 2 small center marks. Hit your check mark. So now my setup is exactly the same. I have the 2 center marks, center line, and the slot center marks. So now I'm going to start adding in my numbers. So I'm going to add in the 50, the 102, the 24 with a TYP at the end, and the 24 here. So going back to SOLIDWORKS, turn this on. I'm going to add in the 50. I'm going to look at this again. 24, I'm going to go here, pull the inside like so. That's perfect. Come over here to the white box and type a TYP. Flip that arrowhead to the inside and check. From this corner here to here, pull down, that will be 24. And then this, from this back line to this front line, will be 102. Now you can bring the 24 in closer, and that is fine. Okay, now looking at other parts, I need to measure the 20 now, from here to here, and the 36 and 14. So I'm going to go from this tip here to this line, no, excuse me, this tip right here, pull straight out to my right to get 20. Click on this line to get 36, pull that out a little bit. I'm then going to take and go from here to the top to get my 14 and flip the arrow inside. So looking back, I have my 20, the 36, and the 14. So it looks like I need to add a 10 and a 60 at the top. So I'm going to go from this arc to this side to get my 10, and from this left arc to this right arc to get 60. And then last but not least, I'm going to click on the arc to get a radius of 6. Looking back, I have all my dimensions now on notes. So at this point, what I can do is make some small adjustments. Now this is pretty close to the top. So what I'm going to do is take this view here, slide it down a little bit lower, grab this view here and slide it down a little bit lower so there's some space at the top. Now at this point, the main part of my drawing is done. So the last part of this is to get my title block put together. The title for this one today, looking over here, is going to be SOLIDWORKS. So I'm just going to put part drawing today. Part drawing dash ACC4 part 3. So I'm going to go here and blow up on this. I'm just going to call this with caps lock on, part drawing, space dash space, ACC4 part 3. And click outside. Make any adjustments you need by left clicking and dragging. Scale will be at 1:1. Where it says drawn by, you're going to put your first initial and your last name. The date is going to be 11/4/19. Period. In this case is 2A. And then check by will be me, R. Combs. I'm the one grading this. And once you have all these dialed up and in there, we'll leave this sheet at 1:1. I know it says 4/8, but we're going to leave it 1:1. Hit your F key. Go ahead and hit the save button. It'll say ACC part 3 _ your last name. The only thing that changed was SLD PRT to SLD DRW. Whatever you see right there, just hit save. The last step is to go to your file print. Okay, go to page setup to verify it's on 11/17. It is B border, 11/17, scale at 100%. I'm going to hit OK, make sure I'm at L108, and hit OK one more time. At this point, go ahead and collect your drawing. Take your mass property sheets 1, 2, and 3, staple them to the back upper left corner of the paper, fold in half, and turn it in the grade collection box.